2010. So it's been 6 years since I last saw you back when you played at the Troubadour in Hollywood in '04, when this album was just coming out. What have you been up to since then?
Well, I made 2 other records. I made another record. 2004. I was on tour that whole year. 2004 in August, my son was born, and that's been pretty much my major thing since then. 2006, I made another record that's just called Gary Jules, and did a lot of stuff. It was on Grey's Anatomy. Did a thing on Grey's Anatomy. They got really big and toured a lot, but tried to stay home as much as possible. Moved from the West Coast to the East Coast. I live in Asheville, North Carolina now. Built a studio in the house. Scored a documentary film for a PBS movie. PBS documentary. That's it. Making music, being a daddy.
Alright. Since you just mentioned you released a few albums after
Snake Oil.
Snake Oil. What else do you have on the horizon?
I have I'm making another record actually right now. I have all of the songs done, and I'm kind of in the situation of trying to figure out how to do it. Like, in this day and age, people, sometimes you make the record yourself and then put it out. Sometimes you make the record and then figure out what you want to do with it. Sometimes you have a label that you're making the record for. I sort of want to, like, I don't know, having done the independent thing, even before Snake Oil forever, I sort of feel like I want to have a plan from the beginning. Like, I want to do the whole thing. So I've been in LA doing a lot of meetings trying to put together a team for the next record and have all the songs together, but haven't even really figured out how we're going to do it yet.
Alright. Why is it so difficult to find your albums in the store?
The reason that I had, when I came back from England in 2004, and Mad World was a really popular song, I did a record deal at Universal and had a manager and did the whole thing like that you were supposed to do at that time, and it really was not my bag at all, at least the way that I did it. So I put my records out on CD Baby, which is an online CD selling store, and they also, they do it. They put you on iTunes too, and that was the perfect way for me to be able to have total control over the way that I did my music after having, during Mad World and when we were all over the world, it just was completely out of control. Didn't even get to choose when I was going to be home, when I got to see my family or anything like that. So, in sort of, now that, 15 years ago, if you didn't have a record label and didn't stay on the road all the time, you didn't eat. And now there's ways to do it where you can put your music online and, still have a family and be home and work when you want to and work how you want to and make your own decisions. So, but what that means is that because my machine is so simple, it means that I don't deal in physical distribution at the moment. But that's going to change too.
Alright. Tell me about the popular cover Mad World. That release has made you the one-hit wonder.
Mad World was, my friend and I did it for a movie called Donnie Darko. I think we recorded it in 2000, maybe early 2001. And my friend Mike Andrews did the score music for it. He did all of the spooky music that's in the background of the movie. And at the end of the movie, he and I had just finished making Snake Oil too. And so he wanted to do a song from the 80s, because the movie is set in the 80s, and do it in the style of the music from the movie. So he called me up and said, hey, we should do Mad World for this movie. And I came over the next day and we did it in 15 minutes. And it was always really popular with people, but nobody thought that it was going to be anything. Every record label in the world who now thinks it's the greatest thing ever, all turned us down in the beginning. And a couple of years later, they were all, grabbing to try to get it. It was really a funny thing.
All right. Besides music, you've been involved in several TV appearances, as well as have your music featured in a lot of them. Tell me about that.
In the last couple of years, it's become kind of a thing that independent musicians, because they own their recordings, they haven't sold them to, or they're not owned by record labels. Independent artists can get their music in movies and on television, and not have a bunch of bureaucracy and a bunch of extra people in the mix. And I was very lucky, probably partially because of Donnie Darko, but I had done that before. I think my music just lends itself to those sorts of situations where people are sort of have made themselves emotionally vulnerable. My songs are really quiet, really soft, and if they play on the radio while you're driving down the freeway, you might, it might not, do its thing, but when you're sitting watching somebody getting unplugged from life support or something, that's where my stuff is. When people are in the throes of death on television, that's when I'm most successful.
All right. You mentioned that you're currently disorganized. What's your deal with that?
Well, it's it's sort of like, as a record cycle comes to its end, you make all of the changes that you want to make to your machine, whatever you've been doing. My thing is changing completely from the bottom up. I'm, going from having a very, very simple setup to including other people and having other people who work for me and are doing things for me. And that's always, always confusing. I can't even tell you, just to get all of my frequent flyer numbers in one place so that, people can get them where they're supposed to be at the right time is incredibly complicated for some reason. So all of the logistical stuff, getting cars rented at the right time and getting hotel rooms set up and planes arriving where they're supposed to when they're supposed to, at the moment is a nightmare. But 6 months from now, if you're talking to me again, everything's going to be running like clockwork. You think you were talking to Mariah Carey, I'm going to be on point. I won't be wearing heels, though. It's bad for my back.
What can be expected from you for the remainder of 2010 into 2011?
I'm going to be making a new record, so I'm making a new record and I'm having a new kid. So probably probably a lot of being inside, or hopefully doing both of those things where it's warm. But I think 2011, the whole machine should be set up and running, for probably early 2011, and that's when, in some form or another, I'll have probably at least one, probably two records come out next year, and we'll probably be on the road a lot.
Okay. And I'd like to say thanks for doing the interview. Anything else you'd like to say to your fans or in general?
No. Thank you. Thank you to everybody. I'm very, very grateful to be able to sing and play music for a living. It makes my son think I'm cool.